Thank you. No, please, shush. Shut up. Thank you. Enough. One last whoop. Very nice to hear. Good evening, and welcome to very nearly 2021. This is your last chore that you have to endure before the new year kicks off. And as far as I'm aware, 2021 has promised to just be like the greatest year any of us have ever had. And let's face it, we've earned it, haven't we? So let's kick off with a song. I've actually got a pretty light duty of singing this evening for reasons that will become apparent. So I'm going to kick you off with one of these. Yeah, let's not do a happy one. Let's start like this, and we'll ramp up the joy as the evening goes on. Okay. Oh, love, one of these days I'll shake you out of my head, call out the engines and stamp out the fire, silence the voices that sing my desire. Oh, one of these days. Oh, love, one of these days I will not answer your call, and there'll be no rush at the sound of your name. You can go your way, now I do the same. Oh, one of these days. Oh, one of these days maybe I'll find a way to mend these broken pieces of what we've become, to write off the damages done, to stand with our eyes to the sun. Oh, love, one of these days maybe we'll pass on the street, and I'll ask how you doing, and I hope you're all right. Smile a farewell like the way old friends might, with no thought for the demons that come in the night. Oh, one of these days, whoa, one of these days. Oh, thank you. All right, so I've promised that I'm going to be much better than I usually am at keeping on top of your comments and things on here. So do write things if you want to ask a question or make an observation or request a song. If you're very lucky, you might get me on a good day. Is this a good day? But you also got to remember that there's a big delay, so I probably won't see it for a bit. So how have you been? I've been sort of in a kind of reflective mood you always get that way when it's towards the end of the year, and you look back on the year, and you might be wondering what I've been doing lately, because I haven't played any of these shows for a little while. I'm imagining all the people watching this are people who've been watching the other things that I've done. So lovely to have you back, and if you're new to it, then welcome. And where the hell have you been? For some reason, what I did not that long ago was I dismantled all the broadcast stuff from the garage here, and I set up the recording studio to make these videos for kind of no reason. I've done a bunch of them now, and I don't know what to do with them. Of some of my songs and some other people's songs. I put out this me doing a Fleetwood Mac song. It's on YouTube somewhere. Look for it if you're interested. You've probably seen it already, haven't you? I've bothered you enough about that. Anyway, so what I'm going to do tonight is kind of like how do you remember those? I remember in the 80s there used to be these like New Year's Eve shows, and it would usually be like Dennis Norden, I think, who would just sort of like play clips of interesting things that happened over the year. And this is essentially going to be a show like that. So we're going to recap gigs that I've done previously. I'm going to play a couple. I'm going to talk a bit, but most of the heavy lifting of the actual music's going to be done by previous incarnations of me and by some very lovely special guests. So I'll show you what I've been up to lately. Here's a song. Is it? No, it's not. What's gone wrong?
Put a chill through the house, we're slamming the door. You said I won't be coming around here anymore. We're creatures of destiny, don't get a choice. Now I keep punching your number, but I don't hear your voice. Why don't you answer your telephone? Why don't you answer your telephone? Your threats come up empty, time and again. Won't you beat on my door and come out of the rain? It drums on the tin roof, runs down the walls. Now I hear nothing but ringing, and I call. Why don't you answer your telephone? Why don't you answer your telephone? house of blue lights, did judgment arrive? They said I was the last one to see her alive. Get your story in check, boy, he said, and then he snapped on the cuffs. All I had was the truth, and the truth ain't enough. Why don't you answer your telephone? Ooh. Why don't you answer your telephone?
Sorry, that was a slightly longer blackout than I was expecting there. Just getting my head around the technology. Yeah, so that's kind of what I've been up to. Essentially, it's a live video, but you just do it live 4 times. Don't know why. Just seemed like a fun thing to do. I like showing off. It's kind of my thing. Yeah, so anyone said anything interesting? Gotta say, no, you need to up your game. You've got to really, if you want to pique my interest, I want some flowery prose. I'm kidding. You're wonderful. You're beautiful. We'll get into your stuff a bit later. So this year has been it's been kind of weird for me because I mean obviously it's been a terrible year, but I feel like all the terrible things have happened to other people, and actually, and I feel terrible about it. But I've really enjoyed 2020 and the forced. Not being able to go and do my job, rather than being, this terrible hardship, has actually, been a really interesting source of inspiration, of having to come up with new things to do with myself professionally, but also obviously, spending a lot of time at home, being a more, I suppose, more present parent. Has been great, and up until now I've been very fortunate to live in a very a part of the country and a part of the world that has a comparatively low rate of COVID, which it's kicking off like hell now, but so far it's actually been, like I said, I feel really bad that I've enjoyed it as much as I have, because I realise that it has been for a lot of people utterly brutal. And one of the things I've really enjoyed doing is actually learning how to put on, a live show to the best of my ability, and make it as kind of as fulsome as possible from here in my humble garage. So I've played a bunch of Milk and Cookies shows, and a little series that I called the Lockdown Sessions, which I would kind of take a a theme loosely and sort of curate a show around it. And the first one I did of those was actually a look back at the songs of my first band, Easy World, and that involved sort of digging up some previously maybe forgotten, I don't want to say gems, but songs that maybe I thought I didn't like, and then I sort of rummaged through the band's archive and found that there were some things that actually I had maybe judged too soon, and that with a different brand of hindsight I actually really quite enjoyed. And this is one of those songs. This is called Tonight.
Get me if you can. This I understand too well. I fail to make you mine. Heart attack and lime taste good. 1,000 broken hearts littering your path through here. Oh, tell me that you lie. Say you never think of me. But tonight, before you sleep, there will be a you and me. And I hope I'm on your mind when you wake. Oh, when you wake. Oh. Sworn away in time, your fingerprints on mine still show. This chance as good as blown. Don't wanna be alone tonight. 1,000 broken hearts littering your path through here. Oh, it's so beautiful and sad. Need for nothing, but I want you back. But tonight, before you sleep, there will be a you and me. And I hope I'm on your mind when you wake. When you wake, will you give me anything at all? Oh, just say the word. Oh, will you give me anything at all tonight? The sun will burn the sea. You waste yourself on me tonight. And tonight, before you sleep, there will be you and me. And I hope I'm on your mind when you wake.
There you go. A little stumble down memory lane. I realised I could have just played that here, but that would have meant, I don't know, learning it or something. So that was a recording from the Night of Easy World songs that I played. Way back, way back. And I think yes. So the first Milk and Cookies show that I played. We were very lucky to have Tom McRae be special guest, and for old time's sake, I've got Tom to be a guest on tonight's show as well, and have a little chat, because it's also a bit of a chat show. I should warn you about that. If you're expecting to just have me playing music at you and not saying a word, then clearly you don't know me very well. But I thought, let's actually have some chat with some other human beings. So me and Tom had this little moment earlier today. Tom McRae, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. Thank you. It's an honor.
Now, but before we started talking to the great unwashed out there, we were talking about football, and I didn't know that you were not only a player, but you've played at Wembley.
I have, yeah. I have. People don't think that sensitive singer-songwriters could be quite sporty, but we need to sort of get rid of this myth now that actually I played sport quite heavily most of my life. I'm not laying claim to being any good. I was just very keen, and yes, I ended up playing for my country, for England, in a pro celebrity. I would name some of the other celebrities and some. But that would show you at what level it was pitched. And we played at Wembley before an England under-21s game. So there was a crowd of, I guess, about 30,000 people. That's not bad, right?
Goodness, I am dying of jealousy.
So the team was captained by Angus Deaton, and it was managed by Sir David Frost. And we had, a bunch of good actors. We had Ralph Little, who was very good. He's a little bit
good player, yeah. I've seen him, and he always shows up at these things, doesn't he?
I felt like we were all letting him down. I mean, my whole life I disappoint people, but I felt like that day I especially disappointed Ralph Little. But I played football for my country at Wembley. I've still got the shirt. I ran out of the tunnel, ran out to the crowd, on the pitch for a good 7-8 minutes, I think, so I think that was pretty good for me. Yeah.
Amazing. I always say to people, like, if I'd been a better footballer, I never would have been a musician. And I'm sure I don't really mean that. But there is part of me that thinks, I would have loved to have been a player.
Well, while we're on this, then, boring everyone, but enjoying it ourselves. I've never been freaked out by meeting other musicians. It's only meeting David Bowie was I once a bit like, oh my God, and that's a terrible name drop, but I was a bit
drop it.
But however, any musician, fine. I feel like we've got something to talk about. When I met David Beckham and half the Man United team in Brazil a bunch of years ago, just by chance, I was shaking. I literally was like this.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting what you consider to be celebrity or fame. And I think footballers want to be pop stars. And I think a lot of musicians would quite happily be sportsmen. For me, I think of the parallels. I think of the time, effort, energy, commitment you have to put into something for a career that's essentially over by the time you're 27. So, for me, it's true. So I feel that in many ways, my career is parallel to a pro-level sports person.
Over by the time you're 27, I still think I've got my best football years ahead of me.
I wasn't talking about football years. I was talking about music years. But
okay. Yeah. No. Well, the thing about music is it's the barren middle stage you've got to get through. Like, nobody does their best work in their late 30s. You've got to wait until you're an elder statesman to sort of come back into your Leonard Cohen years, really. I think I'm just like watching the clock until I can be, Neil Young or Tom Waits or Leonard Cohen, or like one of these old guys who's just like, you have to wear a smart suit and a hat. I've got the hat, so I'm there at least. But yeah.
We should wrap this up before everyone actually just gets bored. Isn't this the stage we're at? That you're part of this. It's like a tontine. It's you, me, a bunch of our mutual friends. We're all looking kind of. It's going to be the last man standing. With every person that quits or dies, we move up a rung. So we don't get to be successful because we're any good. We get to be successful because everyone else dies, and that's my plan. Is just hang on until there's no one left, and they have to book you for the legend slot at Glastonbury in 2035.
Yeah.
So
that's a good plan. I think that there's going to have to be, something akin to some global pandemic before enough people make way for me.
Yeah.
Which brings me on to, how's 2020 been for you?
Well, David, that's a good question. It has been, I'm sure, the same for me as it has for a lot of people. It's been stressful, fraught, a little bit unfocused, a little bit tricky for me to adapt to the biggest challenge I've had to face, which is not complaining, because my whole life is built around the right to bitch and moan about everything.
And you do it with great style and panache.
Made it my thing. But 2020 arrives, and suddenly I realized that, oh, not only is miserable music not required, not only have all the things I've complained about, felt angry, bitter, frustrated about, I no longer felt I even wanted to complain. So if we're actually being positive for a second, yeah, I took a step back and looked at myself in the mirror and went, I've been so incredibly lucky, genuinely, and I feel that I'm in a lucky, stable, happy, safe place where I live. My notional career is going okay. I'm working and I'm healthy. And I just think, well, God, if it's taken 2020 to finally slap me around the face and accept that I've been incredibly lucky for my whole life, really. I'm not saying that it's a good thing. I'm just saying that it's given me finally a sense of perspective, you know.
And is it this sense of perspective that has led you to writing Christmas songs?
God, you're so slick. Uh, well, interestingly, that was again sprung from a writing week that I know that you were on, which is where we first met 1,000 years ago with Williams, and I was introduced to a girl called Laurie Evans, who's a fantastic singer-songwriter, and we thought slowly we would maybe do something with no plan, no agenda, just for fun, trade emails, and a bunch of years later, when the pandemic hit, we suddenly found ourselves with time to actually get on and finish. So we've pulled the album together. I'm just mixing the last few tracks at the moment, and one of the songs was a Christmas song. Right from the start, we were writing. We thought, "Oh, this is a Christmas song," and we you have to. We did it with good heart, with good spirit, not like trying to get on radio or TV, because that's kind of a closed shop now. But just do something where it's a nice Christmas song that doesn't try too hard, and I think we achieved it.
Well, should we have a listen?
Please do. Shall I introduce the song?
Oh, please do. Yeah.
It's called "Merry Christmas, My Darling." Drink up.
I'll drink to that.
Cheers. I'm going to be pretending to pour a whiskey in there.
Trust me, I've done this before, burning holes till the penny it falls. You think that I cheat going first every time, darling, you flip the coin, I'll call. So pour me another, my dear. Don't tell me that I've had too much. We'll talk of good times and of loves left behind. So drink up, my darling, drink up.
Shiniest diamond, but I can tell truth from a lie. So hold out your palm, see this line that God's drawn. Darling, I don't think we've time. So pour me another, my dear. Who cares if we've had too much? Forget tomorrow, time stolen, time borrowed. Merry Christmas, my darling, drink up. Pour me a cup. Pour me a cup. enough. It was always a lie. Drink up, darling, drink up.
Here's to both of us.
Drink up, darling, drink up.
There was never
When
enough.
you were my lover, all gunfight and thunder. Drink up, darling, drink up. Drink up, darling, drink up. Here's to both of us. Drink up, darling, drink up. Drink up, darling, drink up.
From Lowry, from me, Tom, from George, and from Lee behind the camera, Merry Christmas. In Welsh.
Tom, thank you so much. What a magnificent work of art you have presented us with, and thanks to Laura as well, wherever she is. Wales, I imagine. She's so beautifully Welsh. I find I feel a bit uncomfortable about this because I feel I almost have like a sort of inverse racism. Like I love Welsh people. So much so that I feel almost like it must be to the point that I'm almost discriminatory against people who don't happen to be Welsh.
I think that's fair enough. I feel that way generally about the regions, especially getting out of England. But yeah, I've honestly, I'd say this truthfully, that getting to know Laurie and getting to know her family and her friends, because she lives in the town that she grew up in the beautiful small Newport, which is sort of effectively a tiny old fishing village in Pembrokeshire, and getting to know them and starting to, how to put this, be slightly more accepted as an English person in Wales and in Welsh company, and learning to speak a little bit of Welsh. Don't test me on it. Yeah, it's been great actually. I know what you mean. It's quite nice to have that escape route, and also to be surrounded by people chatting away in this beautiful mellifluous language that just carries melodies and poetry all the time. So you feel that, oh, I might not be understanding everything, but you're just, all these influences are seeping in. So yeah, it's been great.
Is there going to be some Welsh language on the record?
Well, yeah. I mean, so far the only Welsh language is Lowry counting in Welsh. But I think we're going to try some versions. We're going to try and do bilingual. And I feel, especially after the events of today and tomorrow being our last day in the EU, that I'm generally looking to collaborate with people around, especially different dialects, different languages. I did a song earlier in the year with a guy from Belgium who sings exclusively in dialect. He sings in a form of Flemish, of West Flemish. So all these things are kind of, they're funny, they're challenging, they're challenges, but they're also ways to kind of actually demonstrate that we have so much more in common and that we should seek to build bridges. And I'm starting to sound a little bit pretentious and
not at all. You're sounding inspirational and uplifting and exactly all those things that I look to you to provide for me. So Tom, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your song and having a chat, especially about football. One last thing, when it comes to the beautiful game, how would you describe your on-field persona? You like the engine? Are you like the flair player? You're the luxury forward?
I'm very much, I put in a shift. I'm a player who, week in, week out, I may not sort of make the best of lists at the end of the year, and I won't win the Ballon d'Or. But I'm definitely a guy who puts in a shift, and I like to think that I lead from behind in many ways. I show the other players that if they do what I'm not doing, then perhaps we'll have a chance of winning. Whatever I'm doing, do it better. And I think that's my gift to the world generally, is look, I'm doing my best, but take this and build on it. And that's all of us, David. We're all just drops in the river.
The more time I spend with you in whatever format, be it virtually or in actual physical company, the more I think you and I are very, very similar indeed. And that's probably why I like you so much.
You're the best looking man I think I've ever seen. It's like looking at him. So I feel the same. Anyway, I think you're probably hemorrhaging viewers at this point.
Yeah, probably. Have a beautiful evening, and I look forward to seeing you in 2021 and hopefully wrapping my arms around you and embracing you like the long lost brother you are.
Yes, my friend. And Happy New Year to all you viewers and your family. And let's hope we get to actually meet in the flesh soon.
Absolutely. Night night.
Lots of fun. Happy New Year.
There you go. Tom McRae. Lovely fella. Turns out decent football player too. Who knew? What a talented bastard. So Tom was my first guest on the first virtual Milk and Cookies that I did ages ago. And to be honest, I didn't really know at that point whether it was going to work or not. I'd sort of set the target to raise £1,000, thinking, that's a good amount of money. I have no idea how generous my audience is, or whether anyone's going to bother watching. And it turned out that you were both numerous and generous in the extreme. And I believe the total is currently somewhere around £22,000 raised for Reverse Ret over a, I guess, 6 month or so period, which is kind of crazy. And about my favorite thing to think of that's happened, that I've been involved with anyway, in this, that thing that they call COVID times, like it's the Jurassic period or something. So that's been really great. So I want to say again, thank you to everyone who watched the Milk and Cookie shows, especially if you made a donation, however big or small. It's contributed to a lovely size total. And I know that all the folks at Reverse Ret have also been incredibly grateful and have want me to pass on their gratitude to you for all the great generosity that you've shown. And the shows have been fun as well, because they're kind of silly shows. I tend to do songs I wouldn't normally play, often cover versions that are like audacious or inappropriate. One of the other things that I do is play songs from the random book. And my random number machine, it's kind of on the fritz. It kept on throwing up the same numbers, and I really don't want anyone to think that I'm cheating. So if anyone's willing to, basically the first person to give me a number between 8 and 242, between 8 and 242, first number I see show up on the little screen here, hopefully I'm going to play that song. And we'll also find out how long the lag is before the broadcast. So, yeah, we're gonna do that. Where are you? Wow, there is lag. I'm just gonna take a sip on my delightful orange drink. Oh, here we go. The numbers are in. 69. For goodness sake, Robert Smart. Well, this is quite good because now I have a. Yeah. In your face, Robert. 69 was the first number, so we're going to go with that one. I may burn it and go for the next one. 69. Do you know I am, because it's There Must Be an Angel Playing With My Heart. I think I played that at the last Milk and Cookies. You and your 69. Who was second? The Bottle Blondes. Hey guys. 134. Is that a special number for you? 134. Do you have a copy of this book yourself? Is that one that you've... Oh, we just missed out on I Will Always Love You, which surprisingly, I don't think I've ever had to do that one. Have I? I'm not sure. But it is... Oh, we just missed All That She Wants as well by Ace of Base. Oh, but it's this one. Yeah. I mean, not a song that I love, but that's what the gods of random sometimes throw up. Right, let's see if I can play it. I think it's not that I don't like the song, but I think when you do cover songs, for me there are rules that you should follow. If you're going to cover someone's song, you either need to be able to do it better than the original. You need to uncover something about it that maybe other versions haven't addressed. Like find its inner sadness is normally my go-to MO. But so So I've not had enough time to really think about what I can do with this one. Young at heart, but what a star, what a star. Oh, before their time, they married young, for love at last was their only crime. How come I love them now? How come I love them more? Young at heart, you're so young at heart. Young at heart, you're not a chance to be a child at all. They told us tales, they told us lies. Don't they know they should have told us at all? Sorry, turn the page. How come I love them now? How come I love them more? When all I wanted to do when I was old was to walk out the door. Young at heart, you're so young at heart, at heart. You're so young at heart. Violin solo. How come I love them now? How come I love them more? How come I love them now? How come I love them more? Young at heart, you're so young at heart. Oh, I don't know what's going on now. There's a medley I didn't know about. I'm gonna have to make this up. They told us tales, they told us lies. They shouldn't have told us at all. When all I wanted to do when I was old was to walk out the door. You're so young at heart, young at heart. You're so young at heart, young at heart. You're so young at heart. You're so young. Actually quite enjoyed that song. I'd never really thought about it, and I didn't know the words apart from "Young at Heart." But clearly, it's a lovely song about one's parents, which I only remember it from the VW advert, so I presumed it was about divorce. But there you go. So there you go. That's what comes up sometimes when you do the random game. Okay. I mean that was all right. I didn't mind that too much. So. The other book I have is this one, so give me a number between, wait for it, between 55 and 455 and 500. Let's go with that. A number between 55 and 500. Now, this book is different. This book has, the red book tells you how to play the songs. It has, like, the words written out and the little chord diagrams. so like a pigeon musician like me can, work their way around it. But this one just is just a list of every song that's ever been in the UK top 75 single charts up until about the year 2002, when music just stopped really and no one made any good records anymore. This even has a few Easy World songs in it, would you believe? Oh God, the numbers are in already. Oh, Robert Smart is quick on the draw, isn't he? But not as quick as... Oh, blimey, I've not been paying attention. Who did the first one? Oh, I'm confused now. I think 88. Is that the first one? Thickets and Thorns. Were you first in there? I really need to keep on top of these things. Yeah, I think we'll go with that. So that was 88. Right, let's have a look. Page 88. That is early in the alphabet. So we're in there. Right. Okay. So we're in B. So it's got Blazing Squad. Okay, we look no further. I'll be flip reversing this. Mary J. Blige. I don't think I even know any of her songs. To my great shame. Blink 182, Blondie, Blue. I mean, this is not a great page for me, I've got to tell you. Right, well, and so the idea is I have the rest of the show to find. Do you know what? After the chat about Blue Tones, they're on the next bloody page, along with Blur, Michael Bolton and Bon Jovi. You couldn't give me that page, could you? All right. So give me a while, and a little later on in the show, hopefully, I'm gonna find something on here that I can bear to play. All right. And so while I think about that, here's a song that I played at. It was the second lockdown sessions, which was I did a whole night of songs, some of my sort of angry politics songs, and I got to play this song that I've not done for ages, probably since touring my third album, Let the Hard Times Roll, and it's a song that sort of fell off my radar, but this was an opportunity to revisit an old friend and play it. So if I can find the button, there it is. Black fog. Any man of any honor, he'll be dying like a dog. Isn't it when it's blowing up perfect, man? You know what I say. Pick up your water bottle, meet me down at Camp X-Ray. Everybody's gone surfing Guantanamo Bay. I try to wash it all away in a swell. Every love
blood runs cold, and my faith is a slow, complicit torture for my soul. Can I feel my fingers and it feels okay? Packing up all of my troubles, washing clean in the spray. Everybody's gone surfing Guantanamo Bay. I try to wash it all away in a sweat. Every wave to my soul a little closer to hell. Try to push a little conscience the back of my head out in the water until the whole damn ocean turns to red.
There you go. I'm gonna give myself a round of applause. Screw you guys. Yeah, that was a ditty called "Surfing Guantanamo Bay," a ridiculous kind of surf pop song about the idea of surfing in Guantanamo, but not really about surfing. It's kind of a, I don't know, a bit of a bitchy little pastiche to poke fun at what I thought was the worst presidential administration in American history. So that's something that happened this year. That's depending on how you look at it, a terrible travesty of justice, where the person who won by a lot was robbed of his rightful place at the head of the table, or the wonderful toppling of an autocratic bastard. So that happened. I must say that it was a really strange thing. The US presidential election was very odd to look at and kind of scary. Obviously not as scary for me as a British person. I don't necessarily have to deal with the fallout quite so much as my friends over in America. But there certainly is that adage that when America sneezes, Britain catches a cold. So generally whatever awful shit you guys get up to comes down the pipe to us eventually. So I was really glad that your institutions sort of held strong in the face of some really big stress. So well done, America. And I look forward to Sleepy Joe having a very nice sleepy presidency. To me, like calling the idea of a nice sleepy president who just sort of doesn't really enter my mind on a daily basis, usually by like scream tweeting something about Rosie O'Donnell or whatever news network he's not that crazy about at that given time. I'm hoping we're going to get a lot less of that from Joe. Or you never know, maybe he's gonna double down on that whole business and be equally mad. But anyway, speaking of America, let's hear from one of my dear American friends. Jared, hi, welcome to the evening. Thanks for joining in again. I can always count on you, can't I?
I just have very little going on, David.
You do. You do. That's true. So since we're rounding off 2020, how's it been for you?
Well, it's been weird.
Good. If it hadn't, then I would be very upset.
Yeah. It's been a different year, as I'm sure it has for everyone around the entire world. It hasn't all been doom and gloom. There's been plenty of that for all of us. Being largely unemployed for a full year is kind of a drag. Not getting out and playing music, doing the things you love, certainly missing all that. But there've definitely been some bright spots too. I've had plenty of time to sit around the house and write new songs and make a record. We've pretty much finished making a record. It's being mixed as we speak. Which, to be honest with you, had 2020 been the year that we thought it was going to be, and us being on the road the whole time, I'm not sure we would have been able to get into the studio. So yeah, it's been different. A lot of it has been a real drag, but a lot of it has been good too, and feeling cautiously optimistic and hopeful for what's to come.
Yeah. Have you found that the opportunity to kind of slow down, take stock, has that been useful at all, or is that unwelcome? I don't know. Has it been a
Yeah.
moment of philosophical awakening or something?
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I'm not one that likes to have too much downtime to just sit with my thoughts, because that's not always a great place. I will say, going back to the musical side of things, it's been nice having a lot of time to prepare for making a record, because for me it's usually like sandwiched between tours, and it's a very rushed kind of process, which I'm used to at this point. But to be able to really sit down and think of arrangements and write out parts, and really kind of try to go into the studio with a clear picture, or a clearer picture, I should say, of what I hope to come out with, has been nice. It's
And having made this record, do you feel like that's been advantageous? Do you think that the finished work will be improved for that experience?
I think so. Who knows what
Yeah, I
ends up.
suppose you don't know what the other record sounded like, do you?
Yeah, who knows what the record would have been? Maybe it would have been even better. But especially for this batch of songs, I kind of already knew that I wanted to go in with like really clear guitar parts on certain tunes, or like really well thought out backing vocals, or so I had that in mind already, and actually had a chance to sit down and do it. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how it turned out.
Yeah.
As for when anyone's going to hear it,
Yeah.
who knows?
Well, as we always say, that is the least important thing. The important thing is that the music is getting made. Whether anyone hears it or not is beside the point. Anyway, so I'm really glad that you've had a fruitful and productive 2020. That pleases me greatly. Of course, we were supposed to have a tour together. Our great sing-off showdown. I can't remember what we were calling it now. But that will have to wait for hopefully 2021.
Oh God.
Who really knows? But in the meantime, you've recorded us a song, haven't you? Tell us about that. That's not on your new record, is it?
It's not. It is another new song. It's one that didn't feel quite right with the rest of the tunes that were going on this record.
And why is that?
Well, it's sort of it's a love song. Not that there aren't love songs on the new record. There definitely are, but this particular love song just kind of felt out of place with the rest of the tunes. I'm sure we are going to record it properly and put it out there at some point. But I figured I would do a little video of it for you for this. It's a song called Words. I don't know many of those, but I tried to cram all of them I could into this one song.
Yeah, there were 5 or 6, aren't there?
Yeah, at least. I wrote it with my friend Seth Walker. We've written a bunch of tunes together over the years. Yeah, I hope you dig it. And if you don't,
they will. Yeah. So here it is.
I wish I could say what I really mean. For a man who writes songs, maybe words ain't my thing. See, I fumble and fall. I'm always at a loss. If I could just get out the way and let come what may, I tell you. Instead I say, and it comes out la 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 la.
as you can see, what's troubling me is words get in the way. What I'm trying to say. Maybe I should have paid attention back in grammar school. Oh, but I've never been one to follow any rules. See, I play it by feel, I play it by heart. Oh, I'd show you what I mean, but I don't know where to start. But I'll try. And still I say, and it comes out la 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 la. And each time I try, I come up dry. Words get in the way. What I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say. Maybe I just don't understand how deep this really runs. Like how far away are the stars? How bright is the sun? You see, love ain't a word to just be thrown around. No, it can't be defined. It can only be found, and it sounds just like It feels like la la la. Now I see that actually words carried what I'm to say. What I'm saying.
Sorry about that. We had a bit of a weird technical gremlin going on there. I hope that did not ruin your enjoyment of Jared's song. That was Jared Dickinson. I didn't give him a proper introduction, but I'm sure you all know him anyway. He's always good enough to rock up whenever I ask him to, which is great. I do love obedience. It's a good trait in a friend and in a Labrador. That's right, Jeff. I do only have T-shirts with Philadelphia written on them. What can I say? I'm an enthusiast when it comes to the city of brotherly love, and particularly because this season, Philadelphia Union, my football team, I say my football. I don't own them. Don't think I'm that flash, but you know, my beloved football team finished the season as the number one team in North America. Well done. Which doesn't mean that they win the cup, because MLS is run in a very strange fashion. Anyway, we've had enough football chat with Tom, but. Great year for Philadelphia. Plus, I loved all the footage of the scenes of celebration. It was so beautiful to me that Philadelphia was sort of the epicenter of the election result, sort of forming into what it eventually became. It was beautiful to see people dancing safely, for the most part, in the streets of Philly. And it was actually the thing I loved most, if I'm being a bit of a shitbag, was Rudy Giuliani's press conference at the Four Seasons Total Landscaping. It couldn't have ended better. A presidential term could not have ended more fittingly than them trying to... I mean, if you didn't hear this story, where have you been? But it's so wonderful. As a last throw of the dice to kind of, look presidential, they tried to book the Four Seasons hotel in Philadelphia for a press conference, and accidentally just went through the yellow pages or something, went, right, there's Four Seasons, phoned up and booked it. And it was a landscaping, like gardening company on the outskirts of town, but they went with it anyway. They doubled down like they always do. And Giuliani had to stand in front of this fucking rusty gate and talking about the election, like in this very strange random place, and nobody would admit that they'd made a mistake and just went with it. And so that this whole roller coaster that started with an orange man descending an escalator in New York City ended with a different orange-faced man sort of losing his shit in front of a rusty gate in a garden center between a crematorium and a porno warehouse. It was funny and remains funny every time I think of it. So thank you, Philadelphia, for the moments that you gave me this year. Even though I couldn't be there with you, enjoying a fine slice of pizza and some surprisingly good barbecue. Anyway, that's enough of that. What's next? I actually do have a list. So I think whenever I'm in North America, I think of Philadelphia as my hometown. There are other places that I like very much, most of Arizona, but my true hometown is here where I am now, which is Eastbourne in Sussex. And of course, I've spent way more time here this year than I have for the last 20 years, certainly. For it is now 2021 represents 20 years since I first started being a full-time touring musician, which feels like a real feels like an achievement, I suppose, especially given the nature of my career to still be out of otherwise employment for this long. Feels great, and yeah. But anyway, being in Eastbourne it's been really nice. It's been nice spending time here and actually engaging a little bit with the surroundings and the countryside, because we haven't been able to sort of go anywhere or leave town. I've been spending a lot of time like walking up on the downs with my little girl, and it's a really beautiful place, and so I've come to appreciate it all the more. So I'm going to do you a song live in person that's about my hometown. Actually, if I press this button, is this going to... Hang on a sec. Is this going to do something weird? Okay, just a little bit more piano-centric.
Well, I've been around the block, let me tell you, and my hair's all turning to grey, and everything aches just a little bit more than it ever did back in the day. Now I don't move in higher class circles, I don't drive some big fancy car, 'cause I put most of my money in O'Sullivan's jukebox, and the rest went behind the bar. Now at school I was a fine mathematician, a precocious and a scholarly kid, but I gave it all up for that sweet flowing cup, and I'm glad every day that I did. And you know, they told me that I could have been anything. They said I was gonna go far. Instead I put most of my money in O'Sullivan's jukebox, and the rest went behind the bar. You know, I was always pretty handy with a football. I mean, not Tom McRae good, but decent. Could have been the rock of the England back four, or maybe a Hollywood actor. But what the hell would I want all that for? And you know, I can play the guitar like a son of a bitch. I could have been a rock and roll star, but instead I put most of my money in O'Sullivan's jukebox, and the rest went behind the bar. You know, I could have got me a job in the city. I could have managed financial affairs and gamble away the money of strangers while I live like a millionaire. But you see, I always made friends better than I ever made profits. Now I'm a wealthier fella by far, 'cause I invested most of my money in O'Sullivan's jukebox and his subprime mortgage-backed collateralized debt obligation behind the bar. Do you hear the bells? They're tolling last orders. I guess all things must come to an end. But if you'll have a drink with me, brother, well, you'll never have want of a friend. And when they carry me away in a coffin, won't you light up a Cuban cigar and raise up your glass for that sweet drunken ass who propped up old O'Sullivan's bar? And raise up your glass for that sweet drunken ass who propped up old O'Sullivan's bar.
Thank you. You're too kind. Yeah. So that's a song that's set in Eastbourne at what used to be my local pub, O'Sullivan's, which is no more now, sadly. It was a great pub. Do you know, while I was playing that song, I thought of something I wanted to say to you when it finished, and it slipped my mind now. So never mind. We'll just have to leave it. Wow, this is strong. All right, let's have another guest. Our final guest of the evening is my dear beloved friend Catherine Williams. When we had this chat. Kath, thank you for taking part, for joining in, for being here.
Oh, it's always nice to get an invitation from you, David.
And a little premature, but Happy New Year.
Well, thank Happy New Year's. I hope it's a Happy New Year.
Yeah. I think everyone's pinning a lot on it being a Happy New Year. Like everyone's saying, oh, 2020, as soon as that's gone, everything's going to be much better. But like, I'm not sure that we're all going to wake up in the morning and just like, you know, the sun's shining, the birds are singing, and the world's back to normal again. But
it would be brilliant. It would be brilliant in the last few hours if this, like, you know, like when you sort of suddenly cram for an exam. And like this year actually just suddenly does something amazing, like fills in the ozone or, you know, spurts out money trees for all the poor or something.
Yeah, I like that as well. I had a great deal of optimism at the start of lockdown. I thought that there was going to be some sort of great, you know, emboldening of the human spirit. Like we would all sort of love each other very dearly and appreciate each other more, and that, like, you know, hatred would just disappear and evaporate into the sky. And like for a few weeks, I was really like positive. I thought this is going to be terrible, but I think we could come out of this better, like as a species. And I'm not so sure anymore that's going to happen.
I think there has been a lot of changes. I mean, the street we live on, we've got like a WhatsApp group, and all the elderly, like neighbours, we've been taking care of and doing their shopping, and we built a little library on the street, and we've been having like sort of, we all chipped in for a Christmas tree for the little green that's at the end of the road.
I want to live on your street. It sounds idyllic.
I love it, yeah. But well, it has really changed, and now when I go out the door, like, it takes me ages to go anywhere because all of the neighbours know each other now. So I think there has been big changes, you know, and then one of them annoys you, and then you just but you know, there is that thing, there is the sort of exhaustion. Like I was sort of down at the beginning of lockdown, and then I sort of came up through it and was like, we're so lucky, you know, thank God we haven't had personal tragedy, and we really feel for those people who have, but we're doing okay. And it made me really thankful for things, and I was mending things and appreciating everything that I had in the house, and appreciating the time at home with the kids. And I had all of this elation, and then they got to a point sort of September, October, probably October time, where I suddenly had a massive dip in energy, and I was like, I just have no more optimism left. But I think it's come back a bit over Christmas, and like all the twinkly lights have helped. And, you know, it's strange because are you really busy with work? Because I'm really busy with work. I mean, not money work.
Oh yeah, I've never been busier in my whole life. I've not had a minute. Like I know a lot of people who say things like, "Oh, what have you been reading during lockdown?" Reading? I can't open a book.
Well, I know I offered you my book, and you said no. Haven't got time.
Well, I'm gonna read the shit out of your book. Don't you worry about that. That is. I will find the time. If it means giving up sleep, then don't worry. Your book will get read, and harshly reviewed. I should also say.
I was waiting for that.
I will pull no punches. I respect you enough to be entirely honest.
Shit.
That's gonna happen. So I mean, as a performing, like, creative person, have you?
I thought you were going to say as a performing monkey.
As a performing monkey, have you? I mean, how's the year been? I mean, has it been sort of awful, or have you sort of enjoyed some of the interesting new opportunities to do other things?
Well, at the beginning, I couldn't do anything, and I could see lots of people online doing things, and I was like, oh, you know, I felt in the middle of the storm.
Right.
And
when you say couldn't do it, you mean you sort of just couldn't bring yourself to do it? You didn't feel inclined?
Well, I just didn't have anything. I wasn't going to sing to it. I just felt like that it wasn't valid or important, and I was needed elsewhere, like as a mum. Yeah. And, you know, I think I was scared. There was a big fear factor. And then And then I did a FaceTime to my mum and dad. I sang them their favourite song by Dr. Hook, Sylvia's Mother, and it was
I love
just
that
me.
song.
It was just me and them, so it wasn't like an audience to the internet. And my dad was like waving and singing and clapping, and I suddenly realised that was what it was for, you know, that connection.
Yeah.
And so then my friend Dan from Withered Hand said that he'd been doing Instagram Live, so I started doing that, and then I began to absolutely love it. It's just me in my little studio and people chatting online, and I'm really quiet anyway, so I mean, in a quiet garage with just a phone and some songs and a bit sort of ramshackled, it was just joy. And I kind of feel like I've found that because of lockdown, because I really enjoy doing that.
Good, I'm glad. Yeah, me too. It's you know, I wouldn't want to only do that. I certainly do miss the sort of looking out, or just, I don't know, sort of feeling the presence of other people in a room. You don't get into that.
I thought you were gonna say I really miss the load-in or the load-out, and I was thinking.
I mean, of course, I miss sound check. I miss grumpy sound engineers. Yeah. I miss warm beer.
Three stairway load in and load out.
Yeah. And you got to load out through a disco as well.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that dreams made of. Anyway, I've kept you long enough. You've got a song for us, haven't you?
I have. I'm gonna do a song that I wrote with Caroline Duffy, who used to be the Poet Laureate, and we've been writing a whole album of Christmas songs that are going to come out next year, and we released one song this year. But yeah, this song it's a New Year's Eve song, and I thought it was appropriate.
There aren't that many New Year's Eve songs. I mean, like there's that YouTube song, New Year's Day, isn't it? Yeah, there aren't any New Year's Eve songs, which is kind of strange. Because it's you know, it's such a big party night. I think you may be onto something here.
Yeah, and I really want Paul McCartney to sing it. So we're going to see if we can find out. And if he can't do it, we'll ask his brother.
I mean, McCartney lives not far from here. If I bump into him, I'll have a word.
You do the thumbs up.
Yeah.
So shall I do it?
I would be honoured. Please do it.
This is called Midnight Chorus. 12 cold gold bells rang, so we formed a circle with our hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, then the brand new year arrived. I could wish you well as we form a circle with our hands, but I wish you health. Without you here, I wouldn't be myself when the brand new year arrives. Here we go, mind how you go, a fresh start for everyone. Here you go, mind how you go, a fresh start for everyone. In the midnight chorus of all united hearts.
Catherine Williams, a wonderful individual, brilliant artist, writer, singer, all around great human being. Thanks, Kath. Right. So one of the things that was, I think there's a bit of a lag on this feed. Hopefully we'll catch up with ourselves. Oh no, this is. Oh, well, this is embarrassing. Okay, well, I'll play another video and hopefully it'll sort itself out. So this is this is from a session that I did. It's like one of the few times I got out the house, and we deemed that we could safely do a session in the studio with a band, and so I met up with the incredible band of. Their regular gig is playing jazz, and we made a record together a year ago, which is not out yet, but we'll, God willing, come out at some point when I can sort all that boring admin stuff out. So I wrote a load of songs about love and death, and it's an album called Love and Death, and I love it. I think it's going to be the best record I've ever made. Well, it already is. I've already made it, but you haven't heard it. But trust me, it's my favorite work, and the musicians that I got to sing over the top of are just so good. It blows my mind every time I hear them. So this is me and Mark Edwards on the piano, Darren Beckett on the drums, and Arnold Somogy on the bass. Playing a song called When We Were Young. I hope.
Fell in love easily, down like a stone. It felt like you tempted the blue from my eyes, promised me everything beautiful under the sun. Oh, when we were young. When we were young, we met at the cinema. I held your hand as we walked to the back row, and we kissed through the trailers. And most of the film now I don't even remember which one. When we were young, your face got kinda pale. You lost all that weight. So we went to the doctor, who said we'd be lucky if you made it till Christmas. By Valentine's Day, you were gone. fell in love easily. Now I confess I don't think of you nearly as much as I should, till I see dreamy teenagers lost in their love just begun. Oh, when we were young. Oh, when we were young.
That was When We Were Young. That's going to be on my new record whenever that comes out. And yeah, like I said, just to go over the same old ground again. I just can't believe how good those musicians are. It's kind of weird. Like you spend your whole life making music, and then you realize, like, oh my god, I'm a fucking amateur at this. So yeah, it's just a real joy to play with those guys. All right, so let's go back to the random book, shall we? Oh, I've lost my page. Have I lost my page? Where was it? It was Blondie, wasn't it? And 88. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so it was. I mean, I had a bit of a further look. In addition to Blazing Squad, Mary J. Blige, and Blondie, and nothing else. Bloodhound Gang, but yeah, I mean that really hasn't aged well in the Me Too era. But weirdly, I kind of found myself drawn to reminiscing about a band I remember from the early '90s called Blind Melon, who were on there, and I had their eponymous album, and this was like when I was a teenager, and I was. But by this point, this was when I'd bought my first guitar. So these were like the first songs I was ever picking my way through on the guitar. And I can remember like as a teenager, like camping somewhere, and someone got out an acoustic guitar and played. In fact, played "Take It to the Limit" by the Eagles, and also played this song. So these two songs like burned themselves into my brain as being like, because as a teenager who just bought his first guitar, to see people like able to play it and sing a song in front of people was like, it was magical. It's like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I need to be able to do that thing, and just sort of have a musical moment. And so it's kind of odd that Blind Melon, a band I have literally not thought about probably in 25 years, should show up here. But I think I can remember a bit of one of their songs. Curiously, I'm setting myself up for a major fall here. But one of the things, I'm a man of some talents. I like to describe myself as like the decathlete of the music world. Like, I don't do anything particularly well, but I do everything okay. But one of the things it seems that I'm very, very good at is like remembering the words to songs for a very long period of time. They sort of lodge themselves in my brain, and I'm usually able to recall them pretty well. Sometimes I do forget words, often of my own songs, but for the most part, like, you know, pop songs from the 80s, like I just know the words to them. And I got to say, like, my little girl, she's 4, and she's only just 4 as well. She's a young 4, but she's very strangely good at remembering like words to not just songs. But this morning, I overheard her reading to her little toy orangutan the entirety of the book How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which is a long book with a lot of words, and she basically got it verbatim, and I've only read it to her like 3 times. It's kind of crazy. She can read a bit, but she can't read that well. Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm being one of those parents who boasts about how cool their kids are. But yeah, she's got a crazy good memory. So she's going to be better at this than I am. Anyway, after all that, I'm going to see if I can actually remember the words to a Blind Melon song. All I can say is that my life is pretty plain. I like watching the flowers gather rain. And all I can do is just pour some tea for two and state my point of view that it's not sane. It's not sane. I just want someone to say to me, oh, 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 I'll always be there when you wait. No, no, you know I like to keep my cheeks dry today. So stay with me and I'll have it made. And I don't understand why I sleep all day and I start to complain 'cause there's no rain. And all I can do is read a book to stay away, and it rips my life away, but it's a great escape. 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 Is that my life is pretty plain. You don't like my point of view, and I'm insane. It's not sane. It's not sane. I just want someone to say to me, oh, 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 I'll always be there when you wait. No, no, you know I like to keep my cheeks dry today. So stay with me and I'll have it made. You know I have it made. Have it made. You know I have it made. Have it made. I have it made. Have it made. You know I have it made. Have it So yeah, that was a song by Blind Melon. Like I say, a song and a band I've not thought about for a very long time. Right, we are rapidly approaching the end of the evening. Now, I was asked about the books on the bookshelf behind me. I recently put the bookshelf in here largely because it was kind of getting in the way in the house. So this is my presidential library. It's pretty humble, but this is mostly all the books that I read when I was writing my album Animal Spirits, which is So this is a thing I was thinking about when I was playing O'Sullivan's Jukebox. That the third, fourth verse in that is it sort of kind of touches on elements of economics, or the economy, essentially, like money and the greed and market forces and all that stuff. And it occurred to me that I drop these little moments into songs quite a lot, and a lot of the sort of politically songs that I have are largely, political economy is the thing that was interesting me, and yet it's something I didn't know anything about, and so I set about trying to learn as much as I could about it, and then write songs on the subject of economics. And it turned out that it was one of those classic things where the more I learned, the more I realized I didn't know anything, and I was almost like creating more room for my ignorance to exist in, rather than sort of learning more actual stuff. But the conclusions that I drew were that a lot of the experts don't know what the hell they're talking about. And there's a way too much sort of like fundamentalism involved in economics. And by that, I mean people who essentially believe what they believe, regardless of what the evidence would suggest. And one of the culprits of that, or the most, I suppose, flagrant example of that is market fundamentalism, which suggests that basically the market will solve everything. You don't even really need a government. You don't need to plan anything. You don't need to sort of take care of anything. You just let competition and just the natural order just allocate everything, and it will all work out perfectly and efficiently. Until, of course, it all goes horribly wrong, and then you need the government to come along and bail you out, and everyone keeps the money that they've made. But that's another matter. I myself also have an opinion and a horse in this race, it turns out. The reason I'm telling you all this is partly because the album Animal Spirits is having like a minor re-release tomorrow, in fact, I think. I don't know. I'm not very good at record label stuff. And so I'm also going to be putting out some interesting outtakey supporting material to go along with my album about economics, which was a real favourite and something I'm really glad that I did, and I'm also quite glad that I buried a lot of the subject matter sort of in metaphor and what have you. So even if you don't care about economics, or even annoyed by the very concept of it, you can probably just enjoy the record on a different level. Anyway, this is one of those me being the four-piece band live performances I did of a song which is about market fundamentalism, and it's called Down Market. And where's the button? There it is.
Stack my cards against salvation, put my life in dirty hands. I burn my clothes and jump the border into some broken promised land. And this whole world's a competition, and we're all fighting to the end, with not a soul above suspicion of my position to defend. These are the spoils of evolution. This is the wisdom that prevails. This is the history we've chosen, tried and tested, broken, failed, but unrelenting of momentum. The mercenaries are marching on. So what if it didn't work in practice? We got a theory holding strong. This little piggy went to market, screaming justice cannot be. So give me death or give me freedom, but don't you put no chains on me. Go tell the jailer break these shackles, tell the watchman turn your back. Stoke the fires on the money train, and watch it jump the tracks, and cut a swathe across the city, carving out some great divide, till the only aspiration will be to reach the other side. And what you leave can slowly wither, and those you left can go to hell. Those fools should all be dreaming bigger, throwing their pennies to the well. Well, I say a plague on all your houses, sell a generation cheap, just to put 9 figures in your pocket and say, what's mine is mine to keep. Stash it away in some secret island, far from the prying eyes and ears, and all the bony fingers of the tax man, yeah, and all his Marxist scrutineers. Come on, throw the money up the ladder, and tear a heart out of the town. Do everything you can to block up the pipes so that
Hi. Yeah, so that was Down Market. Leslie asked, what track did you lay down first on these 4-track live performances? Did the singing one first, the guitar and vocal. It's kind of easier to do it that way. Sometimes with a little click track so I can cue up the other ones, but sometimes you just kind of do it freestyle and play along. But yeah, it was good fun doing those, which is really the only reason to make music is because it's fun. Right, so we're pretty much at the end of the show now. That's all I've got for you. I'm so sorry to the whoever it is. I noticed someone keeps asking for Weezer songs, and it's funny. I used to play the first band I had. We pretty much only used to play Weezer songs. So I don't know why I don't do them anymore. But okay, I'm gonna have just for you a very quick Weezer compendium.
What's with these homies dissing my girl? Why do they gotta front? What did we ever do to these guys that made them so violent? Ooh, ooh, and I know I'm yours, and I know you're mine. Ooh, ooh, and that's for all of time. I look just like Buddy Holly. Oh, oh, and you're married Tyler Moore. I don't care what they say about us anyway. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. If you want to destroy my sweater, oh, 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 pull this thread as I walk away. As I walk away, watch me unravel. I'll soon be naked, lying on the floor, lying on the floor. I'll come undone. Saying so, my love is a life taker. Saying so, this drug is a heartbreaker.
There you go. There's some highlights from Weezer's first album. I used to love Weezer right up until I think their third album. Their second album, Pinkerton, is I say this with not a hint of irony, my favorite rock record of all time. Anyway, right. So I've just seen the time. I'm so sorry. I've kept you such a long time. I'm going to leave you with this. This is some party music to see you into the new year. Enjoy whatever the hell it is you're doing tonight. Staying in, I hope. On my walk down the garden to get to the garage, I could hear some people having a karaoke party down the street. I might just go and shout at them after I've finished here. But please do your bit, do your best. That's I think that's all we can do, isn't it? Thank you so much for your company tonight and throughout the year. I appreciate more than you can possibly imagine you enduring my foolishness from the garage. And I really hope that I can actually... we can be together in person somewhere in the world next year, which is going to start very soon. So I'm going to leave you with this. See what happens. Here we go. Oh, I should point out. I think I played this at Milk and Cookies 1, but I tried to do a really depressing version of it. But this time I'm just going to lean into it.
There's a party going on right here, a celebration to last throughout the year. So bring your good times and your laughter too. We're gonna celebrate your party with you. Come on now. Celebration. We're gonna celebrate and have a good time. Celebration. We're gonna celebrate and have a good time. It's time to come together. It's up to you. What's your pleasure? Everyone around the world, come on! Woohoo! Woohoo! It's a celebration. People all over the world, join hands, no, don't join hands. Form a love train, love train. People all over the world, wash your hands and start a love train, a love train. Next stop that we make will be England. I wouldn't bother. Tell all the folks in Russia and China too. Don't you know that it's time to be getting on board? And let this train keep riding, riding on through. People all over the world, join hands and join a love train, a love train. People all over the world, join hands and start a love train, a love train. Poor old Johnny Ray, still is set upon the radio, broke 1,000,000 hearts in one own. Oh, our mothers cried. Sing along, who'd blame them? You proved so frail. Now I must say more than ever. To ride, to ride. We're gonna sing this like our fathers. Come on, Eileen. Oh, I swear, well, he means at this moment. You mean everything with you in that dress. My thoughts, I confess, verge on dirty. Oh, come on, Eileen. Come on, Eileen, tell her right. Come on, Eileen, tell her right. Now you have shown, now you have shown. Oh, Eileen. Hey, come on, Eileen. Eileen, tell her right. Come on, Eileen, tell her right. Now I must say more than ever. Things round here will change. I said to ride, to ride, come on, Eileen. Oh, I swear, well, he means at this moment. You mean everything with you in that dress. My thoughts, I confess, but you're dirty. Oh, come on, Eileen. And when you're down and you're out, don't remember the feeling of joy. You can lean on me, brother. I won't let you fall. Not while I'm a Philadelphia boy. Oh Lord, not while I'm a Philadelphia boy.
Thank you very much, and a very happy new year to you. Thanks.